Hello students, I'm Dr. Shanmugh, your physiology faculty. So introducing physiology to MBBS first year students is one of the most exciting things that I usually get to experience. So it goes like you're coming from a biology background from your +1 and +2 and entering into the science of the humans, where you get to learn their structure, function, the chemistry, and you get to treat them at the end of your training. So what actually is physiology? It is the language of life. Okay, so every heartbeat and every breath that you take and every thought that pops up in here, there is a scientific rhythm and reason behind it. Okay, though not 100% understood, and there is a lot to discover yet. So this is one of the most important and intriguing sciences that you'll study in first year, and this rhythm of all these processes is physiology. As future doctors, you're not supposed to memorize everything. That is goes with a plus b whole square, like just like that formula. It is not memorizing, but you have to understand, you have to feel it, you have to imagine it. Imagination is the key for medicine, and especially physiology, because you cannot minutely pinpoint everything under the microscope or a scan or anything. You have to imagine how this process works. Okay, and when you understand how this body thinks, feels and responds to everything that is around, going on inside and outside the body, you will definitely understand the beauty of this subject. And imagine the heart as a tireless pump. It has been pumping right from when you're in the mother's womb until you leave your last breath. Okay, it is continuously pumping, right? And the lungs are like filtering, they're like taking out oxygen and they're supplying it to every part of the body. This filtration process by lungs and the kidneys, where harmful toxins are filtered and they're excreted. This entire thing is orchestrated by the brain. It is entirely orchestrated by the brain. That is the nervous system. So this physiology reveals multiple secrets, and it will turn all these complex functions that are going on into a simple, understandable manner. Okay, in a fascinating manner. So once you see the body as a living lab or a working mega lab, the learning becomes an experience and exploration, where you start to enjoy and thrive in this. So with this, I welcome you all to learn physiology, and this is the science that makes medicine come alive. Okay, let us go a little bit about the introduction to physiology and all. Okay, the physiology is the science that explains the normal functioning of the human body, as you can see. Okay, how is it related to medicine? Why you should study this in order to treat a patient? When you know something which is normal, like structure, if suppose if you see the hands has 5 fingers, someone is having only 4, because you know that there are 5 fingers in the beginning, you can identify that this is abnormal. Got it? So you have to know the normal to identify the abnormal. How can we, this is structure, sir, we can identify, but how to identify functions? Okay, when there is a functional difference, like someone is able to solve 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, that's normal. If you're not able to solve, there is a functional abnormality that is taught to you by physiology. Okay, this normal functioning, if there is any deviation, it will become abnormal. So normal is physiological and abnormal is pathological. Okay, the clinical manifestation and like signs and symptoms will be out of this pathology, this pathological function. For example, we all know that we need glucose for energy, and we all know that diabetes mellitus is the growing disease, right? And we also have studied that insulin is necessary for utilization of glucose in +1 and +2. Now, if you see the normal process, insulin helps the cells to take up glucose. When there is either no insulin, or usually if this is the cell, okay, if this is the cell and there is insulin I, if you see there is a receptor for insulin, this is like a lock and key, and this insulin will sit on the receptor, and now there will be another door connected, the glucose channels, where the glucose will enter. Okay, if you put this key in the lock, this door will open, the glucose channels will open, and then cell will be able to utilize the glucose, right? Now, if there is any abnormality in the insulin, like there is decreased insulin, less channels will open, less doors will open, or if there is any defect in the lock, the key is normal, number of keys are enough, but the lock is defective, then it will not open. So this is called receptor abnormality. Receptor abnormality, you call it resistance. So what is it resisting? It is resisting the insulin to open the door, to let the glucose enter. So decreased insulin or insulin receptor abnormality, the decreased glucose utilization by cells. Now what will happen? Where is the glucose? Now it is in the blood, so it will get accumulated in the blood and it will go into the other tissues, and that is what we call diabetes mellitus, increased blood glucose. Simple. Or other tissues, it will lead to complications. Okay, other tissues will lead to complications. We know the functions of organism is based on the functions of the organ systems, which in turn contains organs, tissues and the cells. So we are going from macro to microscopic level, right? We are going from macro to microscopic level with such ease. This is important to study to know how life is being sustained. And this sustenance of life is possible only if all the functions are balanced. Now you need balance. It is not just functioning. For suppose you all know that when you run fast, your heart beats fast. Okay, that is more oxygen is being supplied to the body because you are running, exercise, right? Now if the heart is not beating as per your requirement, what will happen? You will feel tired, easily tired, right? So this balance is necessary. Most of the times balance necessarily doesn't mean equal. Okay, balance doesn't necessarily mean equal. Okay, this balance is what we call homeostasis, and equal is what we call equilibrium. Okay, it doesn't mean completely equal. So what will happen? How can I make you understand? For example, take a seesaw. I give you 2 jars on both the sides. You have to balance them with anything. I put 5 kg iron here. It will occupy this much space, and I want to put something else on the other side to balance it. Now I put 5 kg cotton. 5 kg cotton. Now what will happen? There will be surplus volume. This jar will not suffice. Is it equal in terms of weight? Yes. In terms of volume? No. In terms of texture? No. In terms of accommodation? No. You cannot put it in a bag, but you can put the iron in just one bag and go. The same cotton requires a gunny bag, very very big size bag. So it is different for different things. I hope you understood what balance exactly. Okay, there is equal distribution of weight on both sides, but not in terms of volume. Okay, so this will only maintain the seesaw in the center without leaning to either sides. This is balance. So how this homeostasis is necessary and why this homeostasis is necessary? It is the body. What is exactly homeostasis? It is the body's ability to maintain constant internal environment despite external changes. Very simple. If you are exactly conducting what is there outside into the body, imagine if you are going to a Mount Everest base camp and the temperature is minus 15 degrees. Your body is made up of 60% water. Would you freeze or not? Definitely. But are people freezing? No, they are shivering. That means the temperature inside the body is maintained by different processes, and this is balanced with respect to external environment to keep you alive, to keep the functions normal. Okay, example is very simple, just like the one I gave you. In a hot environment you sweat a lot to radiate the heat out, okay, for evaporation, and once you enter an AC room you'll stop sweating, right? This is adjusting according to the body needs. Very simple terms. And how is it possible? Very simple. You need something called as feedback. Like if I'm taking a class to you and what is happening, you are telling, sir, your language is good, your speed is good, but your pronunciation is bad. Then okay, I will next concentrate on my pronunciation. So this is called feedback, to get a signal from the receiving end to modulate our actions, which is very important in life and in body. Okay, now if you want a real life technological example, because you're all Gen Z, you know better than me regarding the tech and all. So if you set a car on a cruise mode at 80 kmph and imagine the car is going uphill and then downhill. In the uphill, is it easy to maintain 80 kmph as in the flat road? No. So what it will do, it will tell the engine that the speed has decreased. How? This speed is sensed by the RPM of the tires. So the RPM has declined, so it will tell engine, no, you need to pump more power. Then engine will start pumping, and then what will happen? The speed will increase. Signal sent to engine, this is called feedback, and the engine power will increase. Similarly, if it is going downhill, the resistance for the climb is not there in the downhill. So what will happen? The tire RPM will increase and the speed will increase. Suddenly this is sensed by the sensors and the signal is sent to the engine to decrease the power, to put less strain on it. There is no need as if it is going on the flat surface. Now with regard to homeostasis, you need to understand two people. I mean, you need to remember two people, two names, very important. Claude Bernard, who told the term milieu interieur, that is the internal environment, and Walter Cannon, who coined the term homeostasis. Okay, homeo means equal or balanced. Stasis is not just a static state, but it is a state achieved by constant changes in the internal loops or signals. So stasis is not always static. Then now what is being proposed is, it is not stasis, it is called homeodynamics. So whatever may be the name, this is very important. It is not yet official, so you have to read it, homeostasis. So it is to maintain the constant internal environment to facilitate life. Change is very common, so there are multiple changes that are taking every second to maintain overall internal environment the normal. Understand? Overall internal environment the normal. So this is possible because of feedback. Now we have multiple types of feedback. We have negative feedback, we have positive feedback, and we have another mechanism, feed forward. Feed forward. So if you want to know about this, we'll discuss in detail, but let me go ahead and tell you why these are important, how this feedback is a part of important part of physiology. Now for the feedback to occur, you need some sensors, right? Need some sensor to sense the change, and you need a transmission. It can be a wire or something, and from the transmission you need to have a receptive end, and from this receptive end, hopefully this will be the processor. So receptive end and the processor, it will process. Now after processing, there will be a output. Okay, the output, again it is transmitted where? To the target. This is usually the feedback, how it works. Now for the sensor, the transmitter, the receptive end, the processor, everything, isn't it just like some electronic loop or something? Like if you open your camera and you autofocus it, if you focus at a object, it will automatically align the lenses and it will do an autofocus, yes or no? Or are you doing a manual focus every time you point a camera at your friend when they're taking a selfie? No, right? So now this process is an automatic thing. This requires receptors, that is sensors. These receptors are a part of or modified cells. Okay, they are either a part of or modified cells. There are different types of cells: livers, neurons, liver cells, that is hepatocytes, neurons, WBC, RBC, regular squamous cells. Multiple types of cells are there in the human body. For which there are modifications to facilitate this function, and they are called receptors. Okay, for suppose, let us say I am using my phone for a long time. Long time. Now what will happen? It will get heated up. Now once it is heated up, you will sense, oh, the phone is getting heated up. Immediately you will go to the Flipkart, Amazon, Google and start reviewing this. There is a very heating issue with the phone and all. Okay, keep those things apart. Now we are going to discuss, how do we know that the phone is heating up? You can sense the hotness in your hand, on the skin, right? So there is something receiving the heat, that is the receptor, right? Okay, this receptor will send signal. How this heat signal is being transmitted to brain? You just cannot simply tell that this is heat without any transmission. Just like you open the camera, you see the image you capture, and again you are displaying it on the front surface, right? How are you processing this? That means there is a conversion of one type of signal to another type of signal. In body, be it any type of signal, it is usually converted into two types. One is electrical impulse. Second is chemical signal. So electrochemical is the most common mode of signaling in the body. The electrical signal is transmitted from cells, neurons, muscles and all, everything, and the chemical signals is also through hormones, like in the endocrine system, right? Now if you go to electrical signal, you will have to discuss about how this is being transmitted in a cell. If these are cells, okay, if they are side by side from one point to another, now you have a mechanical signal, that is heat, the physical signal, it should be transmitted to electrical. In body, electrical doesn't mean you have to put fingers in the plug and switch it on. It is the movement of ions. It is the movement of ions which create a gradient, okay, which create a gradient, and this gradient will transmit impulse. Okay, it is an electrical impulse. Very simple. Now, how these ions are being helpful? If you take the cell, usually we have a lot of sodium in the extracellular space. Anything that is outside is extracellular, and anything which is within the membrane, like this membrane bound, it is intracellular. And within the cell we have lots of potassium. So inside cell sodium is less, outside the cell potassium is less, right? This gradient is maintained by multiple proteins in the cell membrane. So if you see the structure of cell membrane now, you will have a lipid bilayer, embedded proteins which span from outside the cell to inside the cell, or just outside the cell touching and within the membrane, or just inside the cell. Okay, so these proteins are floating like icebergs, lipoproteinaceous layer or glycolipid layer, within which there are proteins floating like icebergs. Now you have sodium, potassium and multiple ions and their channels. Here comes the part of cell physiology. So this is how the integration of general physiology with entire bodily functions occur. So we shall discuss about homeostasis and cell physiology in detail very soon. Okay, all the best in learning physiology. Welcome to MBBS first year, and be good doctors. Thank you.